Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining me. Welcome. I just want to say real quick before we get started, if you want to leave comments, make sure that you go to streamyard.com/Facebook and let Facebook know that you want to leave comments. You got to give them permission. Um, so head over there if you haven't already, and that way you guys can leave comments and I can see them. So welcome. Thanks for joining me. So tonight we're having lasagna for dinner because I didn't make it to the grocery store. And so because of that, I'm going to share with you guys my secret lasagna recipe. But before I do, I'm going to tell you where I got it. So last fall, we had some friends bring us over a meal, and I can't remember why they did, but they brought us over dinner and they brought us over lasagna, salad, and bread. And when my friend showed up with lasagna, it was a pre-made Kirkland frozen solid hard as a rock lasagna. And I have never done one of those. I always home make my lasagna, so I didn't really know what to do with it. So I studied the directions very intently because I didn't want to mess it up. So I learned that you take off the cardboard and then there's like this sheet of like a film, like a plastic, and you slice it with your knife and then you put it in the oven. And miraculously, when the timer goes off, guess what happens? You have this amazing lasagna that comes out. And it's absolutely incredible. So I've always homemade lasagna, and I have to tell you, I will never homemade lasagna again. It won. That night at dinner, I didn't tell my kids it was a Costco lasagna or my husband. I just served it. And 90% of me was brokenhearted when they talked about how amazing lasagna was because they've never complimented my cooking as much as they did that night. And I didn't even make it. It was Kirkland. So there's the secret recipe for lasagna. Go to Costco. And don't get the fancy brand. Get the Kirkland brand. Then a few months after that, it was Christmas, and my kids had their Christmas program at church. And they do that in the evening at 5. So we get home from church at noon, and the Christmas program starts at 5. And it's a pie social, so everybody has to bring a pie, and we watch the show, and then we all have pie together. So I got home from church at noon, and I said, I have 5 hours to make a wonderful homemade pie. Plenty of time, right? Well, I came home from church that day, and I had an angel, and I had a shepherd, and I had a sheep that year. And when we got home from church, my angel was having a little mini meltdown because she needed me to do her hair to make sure that the little halo fit perfectly because, well, middle school, right? So that was a big deal. And then my shepherd was practicing his role and couldn't remember his lines, and the staff quickly became a weapon. So I realized I needed to work with him a little bit on how the staff is not a weapon, what the staff is really for. And then my little precious sheep, we all love those little sheeps. I could tell that if I didn't get her down for a nap that afternoon, she was going to be the black sheep on stage that night, and nobody wants that. So my whole afternoon turned upside down, and I didn't have time to make a homemade pie. So I had my husband run to the grocery store and get one of those Marie Callender's pies, right? And he brings it home, and I didn't have time to read the instructions, but I was like, I am a pro at this. I know how to do Costco lasagnas, right? So this is pretty easy. So I took it out of the box, slit the little lines in the little film, threw it in the oven at the temperature it told me, and set the timer. And when the timer went off, I went and I pulled out my pie, and it was beautiful. The top of that pie was golden brown, and it was shiny. It was just like this beautiful sheen, and it smelled so good. So I went to peel off the little film, and it wasn't there. There was no film. So I yelled at Jesse. I'm like, hey, did you open the oven and pull off that plastic film off the pie? Because you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to leave it on because I'm a Costco lasagna expert, I know. And it must be the same with pies. And he said, I don't know what you're talking about. And I froze and I panicked. And I ran to the garbage can and dug out the box, and I decided now is a great time to read the instructions. So I read the directions, and there it says, before you do anything, pull the plastic sheet off all the way, put it in the garbage, and then put the pie in the oven. So I now have this pie that has this beautiful sheen because, well, the plastic has melted all over it. And because I love my church family, I threw it in the garbage, and I went to the pie social with no pie and my tail tucked between my legs. So why am I telling you this? Why am I telling you this pie story? One, I'm telling you the lasagna story because I love you, and we all need shortcuts to make our lives easier. And Costco lasagna is one. And I'm telling you the pie story because the truth is you cannot substitute homemade pie. It's not possible. You just can't. I mean, Marie Callender's is trying to do it, but She just can't do it. She doesn't have the secret recipe. And next Wednesday, February 12th, is Legislative Day here in Idaho for Homeschool Idaho. And we also like to call that Pie Day. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about Pie Day and what it is and what you guys can do to get involved. And if you stay tuned for this whole thing, I have a special surprise for you at the very end that you're not going to want to miss. So what is Pie Day? Pie Day is an annual formal reception that Homeschool Idaho does at the state capitol. And it is when all the privately funded homeschoolers gather together to just really thank our legislators and show them what we've been up to. So in the rotunda there are all sorts of awesome displays that kids have been doing. And they display all these amazing things of what they've been doing over the years. And the legislators get to walk through and check them out. And then there's all this incredible classical music playing for them to listen to, and it's being played by our very own Homeschool Idaho students. And one of the coolest things about it is all of our test scores are on display there for the legislators to see. And that's why testing is so important, because those scores aren't just for you guys, which is super helpful as parents to have those scores, but those scores go on display, not with your child's name, but just the cumulative scores. They go on display there at Legislative Day, and it allows our legislators to see just the academic effectiveness of privately funded home education, that what we're doing works. It works. And it's a way to really show them that, a very tangible way for them to see that. And then the last thing, and probably the highlight for these legislators, is they get to come and they get to have a piece of homemade free pie. And I tell you what, that's a big deal. So, how can you guys get involved? Because this is really important for you guys to get involved, because this is really a way for us to say thank you to the people that are allowing us to have our homeschool freedom. And it's a really great way for us to show them what we're doing. So the first thing you guys can do is write letters. These legislators, they get an influx of emails, and usually it's people either A, asking them for something, or B, complaining. But very rarely do they get handwritten notes just saying, hey, thanks. And here's an invitation. Come, enjoy a piece of pie on us. See what we've been up to. We just want to say thank you. So that's a really special thing to do, is write these letters. Have your kids write these letters and personally invite them. A handwritten note is a really special touch. The second thing you guys can do is homemade pies. Homemade, why do we want them homemade? Well, it's that special touch. First of all, you can't beat a homemade pie. Second of all, it's just sharing with them that you have taken the time, that you have made the effort to thank them. So we need your pies. And the links for everything that you need here, I'm going to put these up for you right now. So all things Legislative Day, if you go to homeschoolidaho.org, you're also going to find everything in the comments over here, links to where to send your pies, if you can make a pie, where I'm going to put links for how to find your legislator, how to actually get their address and send them a note. Those need to probably be sent today or tomorrow to get there on time. All those notes are going to be in the comments. And lastly, if you want to go check this out, there's just a few things we want you guys to keep in mind. This is for our legislators. So we want to create space for them to move around, which means if we have kids running all over and we're congested with strollers, it's not going to be a blessing to them. It's not going to be a place that they want to be. So really make sure that we're being aware and that we know that we are guests in their place. And so we're going to act accordingly. And it's a formal event, so dress your best. Dress your best. And that really leaves an impression. And lastly, just remember that we're being an example. We are an example of who we are and what we do, and Homeschool Idaho in general. So needless to say, you guys know how it goes. Just remind your kids. And it's a great opportunity to go and be a part of something. So all that you need, all the information are over here in your comments, or down below in your comments, and check all of that out. We'd love to have you, and make a pie. And lastly, for hanging on to the end of this, I am going to share with you every summer when the fruit is like in abundance, my mom and I do something really fun, because I live in a place where I look out my window right now and there's like 3 feet of snow, and we're not going to see pavement for months. Hopefully a little sooner. And so the idea of fresh fruit is non-existent. So in the summer, when the fruit is abundant, we pick a bunch and we make a huge batch of pie filling. And then we can it. And I'm going to show you. This is our raspberry pie filling. And we can it. And then all year long, we have pie filling that we just dump into a crust, either homemade or you can store-buy a crust. Those are pretty good. And you just dump it in. You throw it in the oven and you're good to go. And it is a fresh homemade pie from fruit that you made. So if you email me at abby@homeschoolidaho.com, I will send you the recipe for this. Any fruit. I'll send you one so you can make it with any fruit. It's canned pie filling, but it's fresh that you have made and have canned yourself. So abby@homeschoolidaho.org, and you will get that recipe sent over to you. Thank you for joining me. We cannot wait to see you guys next week at Legislative Day, or see your pies or taste your pies or hear your kids play their music or see their displays. And we'd also love it if you get any pictures. Please tag Homeschool Idaho on Instagram or tag us here on Facebook so that we can see everything that's going on there. Thanks, guys. We appreciate it. And remember, freedom is not free. We have to be involved and we have to fight and defend for it. So talk to you guys soon.